Welcome to Shellbrook Speaks Out, where we explore ideas, thoughts, and perspectives purely from our own point of view. Please note that the discussions in this podcast are based on personal opinions and should not be taken as professional advice or factual information. We encourage you to think critically, do your own research, and form your own conclusions. Thanks for tuning in, and let's dive into today's topic. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and to my insomniacs out there, good night to you. This is Shellbrook Speaks Out, and I am your host, Ben Shellbrook. Today we're going to dive into some thought-provoking topics and try to see the world through multiple lenses. We'll be talking about something that's both a source of great strength and a cause of division in the world today, and that is diversity. In this episode, we'll explore the complexities of diversity through race, religion, political views, and more. We'll dive into how diversity has the power to unite and enrich us, but also how in our current climate is being used as a tool for division. Stick with me for the next few minutes as we kind of dissect both sides of this coin. So let's start by acknowledging that diversity in its purest form is an undeniable strength. The mix of races, religions, political ideologies, and cultures. This is what makes societies richer and more innovative and more resilient. Diversity brings different perspectives to the table, and it also helps us solve complex problems and push boundaries. Think about the benefits of multiculturalism. Countries with a high degree of diversity, like we have in the U.S. and our northern neighbors, Canada, we've seen advancements in everything from arts and science to business innovation. When we share ideas from different worldviews, we're able to break free from the echo chambers and create something new, something that would not have existed without the clash or blending of different opinions. But as much as we celebrate diversity, we also need to basically look at the elephant in the room and face a challenging question. Why is it in today's world that something so positive is also at the heart of so much conflict? And that's kind of where things get complicated. In recent years, we've seen an alarming rise in tensions around race, religion, and political views. What should be a point of enrichment has become a battleground for identity politics. So what's going wrong? Let's talk about race first. On one hand, we're living in a time where there's more awareness of racial issues than ever before. Movements like Black Lives Matter have sparked crucial conversations about racial justice. But instead of bringing us together to address the inequalities, the conversations around race often have deepened divisions. We're seeing more polarization, people retreating to their own racial or ethnic groups, building walls instead of bridges. Now let's consider religion. Historically, religion has been one of the strongest forces that divide societies, whether it's tensions between Muslims and Christians, Hindus and Muslims, or Jews and Christians. Religious conflicts have been around for centuries, but today we're seeing something new, an increasing level of religious intolerance in societies that are supposed to be secular. The rise of Islamophobia in Europe, for example, or the persecution of religious minorities in various parts of the world illustrates how religion is used as a divisive tool. And then there's the realm of politics. Political diversity used to be about a healthy debate. You get your candidates out, they have a debate, and people join in, and it's talked about. But now it feels like we've reached a point where people aren't willing to listen to views outside of their own. Political polarization is at an all-time high, and it's often not on policy or idea, but on identity, such as left versus right, liberal versus conservative. It's no longer about the difference of opinions, it's become deeply personal. Social media has only amplified this, giving people a platform to engage in echo chambers and demonize the air quotes other side. So, why is diversity causing so much division right now? One reason could be it's being framed by political leaders, media outlets, even social media algorithms. Instead of encouraging people to see diversity as an asset, it's often framed out as a threat. It's the whole us versus them mentality, and it's taken root. Whether that's between different races, religious groups, political candidates, diversity in this context becomes a tool for reinforcing the division. But here's the thing. Diversity isn't the problem itself, it's how we handle it. Diversity becomes destructive only when we allow it to create walls instead of the opportunities to open a dialogue. Think of it this way. We have a choice in how we approach the differences in our society. Do we embrace diversity as a strength, or do we exploit it to stoke fear and division? Take race. Instead of focusing on what divides us, what if we focused on a shared goal? On the common ground that exists between different racial groups? What if instead of retreating into identity politics, we came together to address the shared issues like economic inequality, education reform, or climate change? The same thing goes for religion. In a world where religious tensions are growing, there's also inspiring examples of interfaith cooperation. Organizations that bring together people from different religious backgrounds to work on common humanitarian goals and show us faith doesn't have to divide, but it can unite us. And finally, with politics, we need to remember the importance of debate. Diversity in political opinion is essential for a healthy democracy. It forces us to think critically and avoid extremism. The key is to foster an environment where people feel safe to express their views and where those views are listened to with respect, even if they are radically different from our own. So how do we move forward from this? How do we stop diversity from being a source of division and start seeing it for the opportunity that it truly is? First, we need to engage in more honest and open conversations. You have to be willing to talk, but you also have to be willing to listen. Truly listen to others, to the perspectives of others, even if it makes us uncomfortable. If we're constantly surrounding ourselves with people who think and look just like us, we miss out on the richness that diversity is presenting to us. Next, we need to challenge the narratives that divide us. Whether it's media outlets sensationalizing cultural clashes or politicians exploiting differences for their own gain, we got to be vigilant. We have to ask ourselves, is this narrative bringing people together, or is it tearing them apart? I think that is the biggest key. If we see people having, like the debate I watched on TV, we have two candidates up there. They both want the greater good. But when you're asking for the greater good or presenting how you're going to bring it, you can't follow it up with, well, the other person's lying about this. The other person has this thought process. You can't talk about the good and then present it as how the other person is bad. Both people are trying to go for the greater good. The last thing, we need to teach the next generation the value of diversity, not as a threat, but as a strength. In schools, workplaces, communities, We need to create environments where differences are celebrated and where people feel included, regardless of their race, religion, or political views. It is up to us, speaking as a parent, it's up to us to teach our children how to look into things. Yes, these people think different, or these people have a different point of view. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It means we need to talk. This is how I look at things. This is how you look at things. Where is the common ground where we're both going in the same direction? Not, this is what I think, this is what you think, only my way is right, I'm not going to listen to your way. That is what's happening in society today. With all that said, diversity is, and it's always going to be, a double-edged sword. It's something that can either enrich us and build us, or it can divide us and tear us apart, depending on how we choose to engage with it. But the responsibility lies with us as individuals, as communities, and as societies, to decide how we want diversity to shape our future. It all starts with us. How many people are willing to take a stand, not just for themselves, but take a stand and actually present themselves and be available to open that dialogue and learn, talk, and find that common ground that takes us to the next level of our civilization. Well, that's it for today's episode of Shellbrook Speaks Out. A big thanks to Intertwine for providing the music. Be sure to go over and check them out on Spotify. If you've enjoyed the show, head over to benshellbrook.com where you can grab some merch and find other ways to support the podcast. You can also show your support directly by clicking the support button on our website or through Buy Me a Coffee. Links to everything are in the episode description. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next time. This is Ben Shellbrook signing off. Have a great day.